this is the same old playbook as before. Why not just, why? Well, we know why he does this, but in the last week of the campaign, it's just sowing fear.
Well, first of all, it's my sincerest hope and belief that we are going to have a free, fair election in this country, largely because of the diffused nature of it and all the volunteers and county clerks and secretaries of state who pull it off. So that's my number one view. Number two, the story he is referencing is a real story. I mean, I'm looking at the headlines right here. Pennsylvania election offices on high alert following potential voter registration fraud investigation in Lancaster County. So it's a real story. He's talking
about. That's not what he said.
We played what Trump said. I fact-checked it. He said there are 2,600 votes. They're not votes.
He's wrong about that. It's registrations.
But can I tell you why
they're being investigated? There's no scandal.
But let me this isn't rocket science, though. Like, and Scott is absolutely correct. I voted today in South Carolina. My wife and I, we went to the Strom Thurmond, or the Blott, excuse me, one Strom Thurmond, the Blott Peace Center on the campus of University of South Carolina, full of volunteers. They were there ushering us around, making sure we got there correctly, no long line, shout out to them. But this isn't rocket science. We see it on X every single day. What Elon Musk has created, what they've created is this echo chamber whereby people just come online and simply say, oh, it's hashtag too big to rig, or they're doing this, or Elon will say something and quote tweet something that is the most far out conspiracy theory ever and simply say, community notes, is this true? And we know that my 5-year-olds know that it's not true. And the reason that they're doing this is to sow distrust in the elections so that when Kamala Harris actually has the most votes on November 5th, you see the tweets that say, I have sources inside the campaign from a random guy who doesn't exist, no one is ever talking to. Like, it's all about sowing distrust so that people can say that Kamala Harris didn't rightfully win.
But then why can't Democrats come out and say 2,600 voter registrations that are either manipulated, illegal, or fraudulent?
Wait a second.
No. But time out. Put them in jail.
Okay. Why is the Biden DOJ suing the state of?
No. You asked me a question and I answered it directly.
That's good. I like.
Put them in jail, and you know what? You'll find out the voter fraud that we've seen in this country, the 1, 2, 3, 4 dozen instances we've seen in this country, contrary to Elon Musk, contrary to Charlie Kirk, who you've advocated your little voter harvesting to. You know what's happening? Those are from Republicans. Like, if somebody is committing voter fraud in the country, lock their ass up, Mark.
Look, the reason Donald Trump actually is where he is because he's actually still cleaning up the mess from Sunday in Allentown, where more than half the population is Hispanic or Latino. This is a problem. I mean, contrary to the idea that this was all a joke and nobody cares, the Trump campaign cares because they're there talking about Puerto Ricans and why his campaign, in his words, loves them. So he's doing damage control.
Sure, he's doing damage control. But I just feel like, aren't we tired of this? Aren't we tired of, like, oh, these people, they're not trying to win. They're just trying to make sure, as you said, that when she wins, we don't believe it, that we can accuse the other side of cheating. It's exhausting. And honestly, that the damage control that he's trying to do for Madison Square Garden, it wasn't just from one joke from one comedian. It was every single speaker that spoke just doubled down on the hate.
And let me just play a little bit from Nikki Haley, who responded to this. She's supposed to be a Trump surrogate. She endorsed his campaign, but here's what she had to say.
This is not a time to have anyone criticize Puerto Rico or Latinos. This is not a time for them to get overly masculine with this bromance thing that they've got going. You've got affiliated PACs that are doing commercials about calling Kamala the C word, or you had speakers at Madison Square Gardens, referring to her and her pimps. That is not the way to win women. That is not the way to win people who are concerned about Trump style.
That is quite the endorsement of the Donald Trump campaign strategy. I've never heard anything like it.
Mark and Scott.
Okay.
Respond. Go ahead. They wait on Nikki.
Yeah, no, she's right. I mean, the pre-program at this event did not match what I think the campaign wanted to do on Sunday. They released a couple of really, really well-done ads. They obviously wanted the centerpiece of their day to be Trump's speech, which was largely focused on immigration and the economy. Those are the issues that work. And people were led up onto the stage, including this comedian and others, who obviously We're not.
Sorry,
we're not
I'm
on,
sorry,
we're
they
not-
weren't led up
I
onto
was
the
gonna
stage. You
say,
didn't crawl out of the audience
I
and
love
get
the
up on front
idea
of the
that
mic.
the MSG rally was just an open mic and people just rolled on stage
it was
and
kind of a-
delivered
it was
set.
kind of a silly variety show.
No,
It
it
should
was
have been
not.
a silly variety show.
No, Scott, I completely agree. It was a silly variety show that was programmed by the Trump campaign and vetted in depth. Every single speech, every single joke had been vetted by the campaign, and
They've already come out and said that those jokes were not in that script, and that
Well,
here's the thing.
here's what
But
we
this
do
is the
know.
point. It's
Here's what we do know.
It's not
They-
just Tony
They
Hinchcliffe's
looked
jokes.
at that speech. They took out a C word joke, but they left the rest of it.
left
But
the
he,
rest
but
of
he made jokes that
here's
were
the
not
thing.
in the script.
Okay.
So they,
Can we-
No, hang on, Scott.
But I get it though.
we just
If
talk
she's
about-
got nothing else to talk about, she's got to have grievance and play the victim.
At
No,
a
no,
time.
no, no, no.
Oh my God,
Absolutely
bro,
not.
what do you mean she has
Mark.
nothing else to talk about?
Mark,
Please stop saying that. I am begging you to stop saying
Lee,
that.
let me let Franklin finish his point.
Okay,
and then you guys
first
can
of all,
continue.
it was not just Tony Hinchcliffe's jokes. There were references to her being to her pimp handlers, and you can try to make the argument as much as you want. I would encourage people to go back and watch that Trump speech, just like Kamala did during the debate. The purpose of that speech was not immigration and economics, and to the extent that it was a piece with demonizing the Latino community. Right? This is not the problem with, I think, with Nikki Haley's point of view is she views this as an error, as a mistake, as a misplayment. It's not a bug, it's a feature. This is Donald Trump's closing argument. It is a closing argument that he has doubled down on in comments subsequent to that. And meanwhile, in Las Vegas, later this week, Kamala Harris is going to be on stage with Mana and Jennifer Lopez. And there could not be a clearer separation between the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign in terms of who she's prioritizing
Mark,
than that.
I think one of the things that we're talking past each other is you said she doesn't have anything else to talk about, right?
Correct.
You said that she's losing, she doesn't have anything else to talk about. When the fact is that if this was a normal year and you all were running a normal candidate that could stick to issues, we would be having a totally different discussion today. But we're fundamentally having a conversation about what type of country we want for our children. That is literally the conversation that we're having. And I don't want my kids to grow up where they are being bastardized because of who they love or what they look like, right? And when you have people who go on stage, and I am doing everything but accusing you of this, right? I am not doing that.
I
So before
appreciate
we
that.
jump off the
I
side of the
appreciate
mountain, let's just make sure we know that
doing
I'm
that.
not accusing you
No.
of that. I know you know that. But what I am saying, though, is Donald Trump has given the green light to a lot of this. And what happened at Madison Square Garden, again, was the fact that that green light happened under Donald Trump's umbrella. I'm old enough to remember when racists stayed inside, right? Kill Tony, I think that's his name, has been a racist. He's been a bigot.
Yeah.
He's been a homophobe. And I mean, he's little, so I would actually say that to his face. I'm not going to call out Joe Rogan to his face, but I will call. But I will call out.
But to my point, if I could really quickly.
We got to leave it there. I mean, but to Bakari's point, it wasn't just led up there. He was invited to this rally.